Right. And Bilāl represents one system, Umayyah ibn Khalaf represents an outdated, oppressive system. This is just not a battle between two individuals. And this is just not about Bilāl's perseverance.
Right.
This is about maintaining the status quo. And the status quo is slaves are inferior and they are to obey.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Power loves obedience, especially when it comes from the bottom. In today's session, we meet Bilāl ibn Rabāḥ radiallahu an, not as a voice calling the adhan, but as a body being beaten daily simply for refusing to renounce the faith that he has accepted, the truth. But what shocks the Quraysh isn't just his endurance, it's the fact that their power, their ability to humiliate and crush isn't working. At least it's not working the way it used to. My name is Sajjad. I'm here with Assad Koshul, another session of the Criterion Concepts Seerah podcast. Assalamu alaikum, Assad.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Assad, let's get started. This is one of those sort of pivotal stories that we all grow up learning about, right? And we learn about what Bilal radiallahu anh responded with, ahadun ahad, just consistently and constantly repeating that, no, God is one, God is one, God is one. But we obviously are talking about it today to engage with it at a deeper level. So why don't you go ahead and paint the picture and tell us what the scene is, with that whole narration.
Great. Okay, so what we have here is Umayyah ibn Khalaf is the owner of Bilal radiallahu anhu. And he is one of the four worst of the worst at the time of the Quraysh. And he's torturing Bilal daily.
Right.
At the time of 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon when the sun is at its highest. In this specific clip, what's happening is he's with his son Safwan and one of their servants, Umayyah, right? And he's talking to them and saying, I'm shocked. I've been beating him for these days. Why is he not breaking? Why is he not rejecting Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's religion, or at least saying something derogatory about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Okay, and he is shocked at how steadfast Bilal radiallahu anhu is. So he's like, how can a human being endure so much pain? And especially one who Umayyah thought he's weak compared to, say, Washi and others. And he's actually thinking, he's saying, is it because that Muhammad has cast some type of spell on him to allow him to endure such pain? He's having difficulty in reconciling Bilal radiallahu anhu's ability to endure so much pain and suffering with his understanding. He can't reconcile this. And he says, and if he can't break Bilal radiallahu anhu publicly, it's a major problem. It's a public relations, because this is a continuous public relations battle every day. Because every day, the torturers, the two primary torturers are Umayyah and then Abu Jahl. And they're out there torturing people, and it's a spectacle. And if he fails to break Bilal radiallahu anhu, force him to concede, then the slave has won, which is unheard of in that society.
And
because
reflects very badly on his skill to break them.
Exactly. And because masters command, slaves obey. Done. There's no gray area here.
Right. So he's actually testing not just the slave's resolve, but he's testing his ability to dominate.
Exactly. And it'll be a stigma on Umayyah and his clan and family, that he had a rebellious slave and he couldn't force him to break. And this is where it's interesting that Abu Jahl is a very narcissistic type of personality also. In addition to being the chief antagonist to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he ridicules Umayyah ibn Khalaf for not being able to break his slave. So even though Umayyah and Abu Jahl are on the same side as it relates to opposition to Muhammad, this will look bad, that Umayyah can't control his slaves. Because Abu Jahl says, well, I control my slaves. I control my slaves.
What's wrong with you that you can't?
What's wrong with you? You can't. So this is the thing. And also at a little bit bigger picture, beyond just the battle between Umayyah and Bilal radiallahu anhu, they're concerned that this can inspire other slaves,
Right.
and it can disrupt the social order.
Right.
And now they're seeing, wait, this can be really very, very, very disruptive. And this is just not a battle between two individuals. And this is just not about Bilāl-ra's perseverance.
Right.
This is about maintaining the status quo. And the status quo is slaves are inferior and they are to obey.
And let's juxtapose this for a moment, because I think it's always important also to relate different episodes from the Seerah with other episodes. So in a previous session, of course, we talked about Abu Dhaifa and Salim, right? And how that also disrupted the social order.
Exactly.
But I think one very significant difference between that disruption of the social order and this disruption of the social order is that, well, actually there's a couple here. And one of them is that in this case, the social order is being disrupted now, not only, and I'm of course not simplifying or not making less of what happened in that episode, which was disruption of the social order based on redefining kinship and relationship. But now social order is being disrupted because the slave is resisting the master, and on the basis of belief, which previously was not necessarily maybe the central motivation or the driver behind the disruption of the social order. Now the social order is being disrupted precisely because the slave is resisting, the master is failing, and it's basically helter-skelter.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is the thing. The most important thing that the elites want is they want the status quo maintained.
Right.
That's what's really, obviously other than their safety, right? And so here, what's happening is Bilal resisting is defiance. Not only to Umayyah, but to the social order, to a very unjust social order.
And it's also defiance in this case to very, very painful physical punishment.
Exactly.
Which was, in the past, it was maybe threatened, i.e., in the case of Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh, if you stick with this, you're not going to get work, you're going to suffer, etc., etc. Now it's not threats anymore. They're actually inflicting physical punishment on the resistors, effectively, and the resistors are saying, we're not going to budge. We're not going to budge,
exactly. And so they're trying to process how he can endure so much pain. How can he be so steadfast? What's the big deal? Say something bad about Muhammad's peace be upon him. Say something bad about him.
Right.
And he says, no, I won't even give you that one word.
Right.
And he's like, I can't process this. So he says, I don't know who suffered more today, Bilal or me.
Right.
Because I was beating him with all my power.
Right.
And I'm exhausted.
And I'm exhausted. Right.
And I'm exhausted. And they're saying no.
Right.
He's saying there, no. I believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I believe in his message, and this is what it is. And so we have to understand that winning this public relations battle is very, very important to Umayyah.
In this case.
Right. And not just for his family, for his clan, and that, just also to maintain the status quo.
Right. So this isn't just about Quraysh accusations now. It's about, which is what they were doing before.
Yeah.
Accusing the Prophet ﷺ of being so and such and whatever it is. It's about their growing unease that they can't necessarily quite explain. The Prophet ﷺ is not attacking their idols, but he's exposing their fear. He's not undermining their rituals. He is revealing their hollowness because they're just not able to, basically, you know how they say, you need to grab the end of the string so you can pull it. They can't even find the end of the string.
Exactly.
So deep down, they know that the real threat isn't just disruption, which is something that I guess they feared at its most basic level. But I think deep down, what they were really fearing and they were realizing is that the real threat, instead of being disruption, it's actually clarity.
Exactly, and this is where, and for them, masters say, slaves do, and this is more than a disruption. And here, the principle of like sabr and shukr is on display, and Bilal is persevering through this enormous pain, and they can't they can't put the genie back in the bottle. They just can't. They don't know. Something is now going on in society at all levels of society that is having a social impact. And it is even affecting the slaves to be rebellious in public.
Right. So it's a new low for them.
Exactly. And also, this is the thing about torture. I mean, it's forbidden in Islam. But this is the thing, that the torturers, when they torture and they don't get the results they seek, their violations become more and more egregious.
Right.
And we see this on display here. And so Umayyah is saying he's got to give in or he's going to die. But now that also presents a problem, that his slave, he killed his own slave because he couldn't break him. So it would still be a loss. And so failure.
It's a loss if he doesn't yield, it's a loss because he didn't yield. And if he ends up killing him, it's a loss because it's property, it's an asset.
Exactly. You tortured your slave literally to death, and he still didn't comply. And then, so there's no lighter word, it's a disaster. That it's a public religious disaster, and then genuine risk that they say, okay, inability to get this slave to fall back in line and back to comply, is it going to serve as inspiration to others?
Right. It's not just a master being challenged here. I mean, this is a worldview that's being challenged.
Exactly. And that is what they find the most dangerous. This is not a tug of war between two individuals. It's a tug of war between two systems.
Two worldviews.
Two worldviews.
Right.
And within this, right, he's trying to reconcile that. How can he persevere? This is beyond human comprehension, the way that he understands it. This is where, when we look at this, we see that this is just not disrupting the social order. It has political implications.
Right, right. The idea that truth and discipline here are basically the indicators, signposts for what liberation actually ends up becoming.
Exactly.
Right.
And
then we've got this other underlying theme here, that this master is basically shameful for having failed.
But he's exhibiting, it's like a shame on you type of thing, that from even his allies, that you can't discipline your own slave. You should be able to discipline your own slave.
Right. And disciplining,
it's embarrassing.
Right. So, and disciplining a slave, I mean, I would imagine because of the fact that they were slaves, I mean, the assumption, I guess, in their mind is they're going to be disciplined anyway, right? Or they will fall in line.
Yeah.
Right? They will fall in line because they're slaves. They have to fall in line, right? And the fact that they're not falling in line, that's a crack in the pyramid of power.
Yeah.
Right? That whatever that power structure was, it's cracking now. Right?
Exactly.
Because you had this base where you had these slaves. These slaves are not full residents or citizens of society. They're slaves. And so they should be breaking, they should be acquiescing, they should be yielding whenever they're told.
Yeah.
Basically, that's their job, right? I mean, or I should say, that's their life.
That's their function.
Do this, and they do it. And in this case, they're being tortured. They're being forced physically to say something or to do something, and they're not doing it.
And they're not doing it. And what has possessed them to persevere to this extent? Yep. And if this is a sign of what is to come, then this is a very, very dangerous sign.
And now again, I mean, I think we mentioned this just earlier, but you're actually now in the realm now very openly of setting the theological sort of basis for all this. I mean, the Quran was always there, from the revelation of Surah Al-Alaq and Surah Al-Mudaththir and Muzammil and Surah Al-Qalam and all the Makki surahs. But now the message is actually becoming operationalized in society.
Exactly.
Right?
The injustice in society is on display daily now. Daily.
Because it's being contrasted against the message of the Quran.
Exactly.
You had no alternative narrative before, and so now that narrative is manifesting in the actual, I mean, in the conflict, basically.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So do you want to highlight anything else?
No, and the thing is that then we all know that, alhamdulillah, that Bilal radiallahu anhu is then purchased by Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, set free.
Very important. Sure.
And then, so one is done at an individual level. That should be understood, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged treating the slaves kindly and to set them free. So here, when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu purchases them and sets them free, it also is, in one respect, Umayyah is relieved. Okay, I'm not responsible for him anymore. But at the same time, he's lost the public relations war. And then at the Battle of Badr, they face off. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is the one who kills Umayyah ibn Khalaf. And Bilal radiallahu anhu is a remarkable Sahabi. I mean, all the Sahabi were remarkable. But when you see later on in the Seerah how he walks the streets of Mecca, just preaching Islam.
Right.
And from being a slave to being very self-confident. You know, there's a transition. And he is a very, very dynamic Sahabi. And as we talked about, every time he begins to give the adhan, it's also a shot against the previous social order.
Right. Because he was a slave. He was a slave.
He was a slave. And so, and his stature, and his closeness to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and obviously his closeness to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and all of this. So this is not a tug of war or a competition between Umayyah and Bilal. This is a tug of war between two systems. Right. And Bilal radiallahu anhu represents one system, Umayyah ibn Khalaf represents an outdated, oppressive system.
I mean, just on that point, I think also it's important to look at the fact that not only are they representatives of two opposing systems, but if you maybe were to think about the sort of elite or the elect and then the general in both systems, you know, technically speaking, here is a slave on this side of the spectrum, and here's the elite of Quraysh on the other side of the spectrum. It's completely, you know, on two sides of the spectrum, and nevertheless, this side of the spectrum, which is the lowest side, is dominating the highest.
It's winning, exactly. So, and Umayyah is just not an average person. He's the leader of his clan. And so the only person that perhaps could be considered lower on the totem pole would be female slave.
Right.
And this is a key point, that every day when Bilal radiallahu anhu returns to the bunk where he stays, he's bunk mates with Washi. And he can't reconcile. Why are you subjecting yourself to this torture? Just tell Umayyah what you want to hear. Just tell Umayyah what he wants to hear. Tell your master what he wants to hear. And even there, you see that those two personalities are also clashing. Those two slaves, Bilal radiallahu anhu and Umayyah. So this is just not a personality clash between Bilal radiallahu anhu and Umayyah. It's between Bilal radiallahu anhu and Washi too.
Sure, because Washi,
there's a contrast there.
Sure.
Because one
acquiesces. One is ready to acquiesce.
Exactly.
So Bilal radiallahu anhu never shouted. He didn't fight back. He just wouldn't surrender.
He wouldn't surrender.
And that was enough to terrify the whole entire social order.
Exactly.
At that point.
And he maintains his discipline.
Right. And Umayyah thought that he owned a man, but what he discovered in front of the whole world is that conviction was stronger and it can't be owned. So here's today's reflection, what we leave you with today. What would it take for your silence to say more than your voice? If you raise your voice, that's one option, but silence sometimes speaks louder than words, as they say. So what would it take for your silence to speak louder than your word? See you for the next session, inshallah, as we continue exploring these lessons from the Seerah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Assad.